Hi, my name is Andrew Rixon. I'm a management consultant, coach, and educator. I run a practice called Babelfish Group, which specializes in leadership and change, taking a facilitative approach to the way we do things. And today I'm going to introduce to you and talk about a process known as open space technology, which is one well known around the world. It's been applied in many different settings across corporate, government, not-for-profit and community settings, and it was founded in 1983 by Harrison Owen. Open space technology is a large group facilitation method. This means it can work for 5 to 5,000 people with one facilitator. In terms of thinking about when to use open space technology and when not to, Harrison Owen suggests these elements. It's useful when there's a real issue of concern, there's a diversity of players, a complexity of elements, there's the presence of passion, and conflict is one of these elements of passion, and the decision time is now. So you think about that, and there's a lot of situations where open space can work. But on the flip side, you shouldn't use open space when specific outcomes are predetermined or existing leadership is not willing to make the changes needed. So this gives you a guide then for open space. But there's a little bit more to it as well. And as we go through it, you might think about your own situations and circumstances. Harrison Owen, interestingly, says that open space is as simple as you can imagine. Anyone can do it with a good head and a good heart, but to do it well may take you a lifetime. The difference between simple but not easy. So to talk about the next element of open space, I'm going to show you a little demonstration with what I call my little people. So Harrison Owen says there's 3 things you need to do in an open space, and the first one is to sit in a circle, the second one is to create a bulletin board, and the third one is to open the marketplace. After that, open space is a self-organizing methodology. So if you see, we have our little people here sitting in a circle. You have the facilitator who walks around in the center of the circle. So in the first half hour of open space, the topics are raised. So if you see over here, we have that the facilitator would post an example of one of their topics on what we call the marketplace wall. And then over here, we have the different timings that are posted on the different walls. So you might have space A, which has sessions running from 9:30 to 11, and then a different color code for 11:30 to 12:30, and then so on and so forth till 3 o'clock. Now, I suppose what's interesting is open space is known for its 4 principles and 1 law. So the first principle is whoever comes are the right people. The second principle is whatever happens is all that could have and did. The third and fourth principles are about time. Whenever it starts is the right time, and when it's over, it's over. And the last law, which I often joke is compulsory, is that the law of 2 feet. It says if you're neither learning nor contributing, move to a place where you can. So based on all of this, we have the setup for how an open space meeting works, where participants come and start by sitting in a circle. The facilitator helps to introduce the process in the first 10 minutes. And then, if you can imagine, everyone raising topics and then standing around the marketplace wall as such to then choose the topics to then head off for their conversations. It's really quite a simple process. The last open space technology process which I ran was in November last year for a government department here in Victoria. It was for 300 executives, senior people within this government department, and there was a theme about how do we live our values for this organisation. They'd just had a merger with another department and had become quite large, as you can tell. It was held at the MCG, and if you can imagine, three-tiered circle of chairs, which was pretty large, and it really began with first talking with the sponsor, who was the department secretary, and working out what is the theme, because all open space meetings work on a theme, a particular question. This question is the pithy question, the question of concern, which is then sent out. There's a communications process which is sent out and inviting people to come and be part of this forum. Usually open space sessions run for either a half day, a full day, 3 days, or sometimes even 5 days long. This session that I ran was a full day process held at the MCG. And like I mentioned, the open space process begins. The first half hour of the meeting, or 45 minutes, is getting all the topics posted. So sit in a circle, create a bulletin board, and open up the marketplace. So people respond to the theme, the question, by raising their own questions that they'd like to explore and discuss. And usually in open space, the first half, or maybe a little more than that, is on discussing all the topics people raise, and then often in the afternoon there's a action planning segment. So this is an example of the latest open space that I ran, which was last year, and also it was the largest that I'd ever run, 300 people. Before that, I'd done an open space of 240 people for a company called Rixon, which is an energy company, and this was how can we collaborate to grow our business even better. And that's the example of the theme or the pithy question that was at the heart of the open space engagement. It's worthwhile just to say something about open space as a philosophy of life and open space technology, the full kit and caboodle of the process, which I've shown an example of with my little people. Open space as a philosophy is something that any facilitator can use to help inform the way they design, engage, and work with groups. This can see the whoever comes are the right people, whatever time it starts is the right time, whenever it's over, whatever happens. Principle. Often I know people use the law of 2 feet as a guiding principle. So in other words, if you find yourself neither learning nor contributing, move to a place where you can. Self-organizing is a really powerful process in facilitation, working with groups. My PhD was in complexity science and chaos theory, and if you're interested in that, open space is one of the best implementations and examples of chaos theory and complexity in action. It's all based on self-organizing. So it's worthwhile to think about open space technology, which is the actual format then, where you have the room, the circle of chairs, the bulletin board, and the marketplace. These are key elements. And I suppose one of the cultural aspects of open space is finishing or closing the space with a process known as a talking stick, which is a Northern American Indian process. So I hope that helps to clarify a little bit about the difference between open space as a philosophy and the difference between open space technology, which is the method, all the bells and whistles of how to do an OST engagement. Finally, it's good to think about how do you learn these skills of open space. What are some of the professional bodies around for facilitation? Generally, the IAF, the International Association of Facilitators, which is an American started organization and is global and is worldwide. It's very appreciative and open and inclusive to all facilitation approaches, including open space, though not specifically focusing on open space. In fact, Open space has emerged through a very organic growing community. In Australia, there is the Australian Facilitators Network, which is a self-organising network of facilitators, and no hierarchy is involved in that network, though they do organise a conference once a year to bring together the online community. That being said, there are people like myself in Australia that run open space training. Another person is Brendan McKeague. He's based over in Perth. In terms of the Eastern Seaboard, Viv McWaters and myself run open space training. And more internationally, there is an open space list, which is again an online forum where you can post questions, comments, etc. And Harrison Owen, who's the founder of Open Space, and you can find out a lot more about him, is very present and engaged in that list. He is in his late 70s now, I believe, and the list is very gracious to his presence. There are other great practitioners of open space, Michael Herman, I believe, Chris Corrigan is a great practitioner. So you can Google and find out a lot more about open space there. In terms of the process, is it adaptable? Can you use it in amongst other things? Like I said in the segment on open space as a philosophy versus open space technology, sometimes there are things that you can do before open space technology. So if you're using presentations, etc., it's often good to get those out of the way before you go into an open space technology forum, because it tends to be that once people experience that, they don't like to be controlled and coerced in other ways of herding cats, you might say. Anyway, I hope this is helpful, and I hope this has given you an idea of the process. Open space technology.